welcome back. Hi, it's Rose. Today I'm creating collage strips. Hope you'll join me. They can be super fun to make. I think they look really sweet, and they can be functional, beautiful, creative items for your journal. Thanks for joining me. Let's have some fun. Okay, let's get started. I'm going to work with portions of each of these and this one here so that I can kind of show you what to do with something similar. The first thing I'm going to do, I showed you how to make a paper clip, so I do want to show you how to cut out a paper clip first, just as a kind of a reminder here. This is not printed double-sided. These are printed single-sided only, okay? And I need 4 in a row to make a paper clip. So I could either make a paper clip that goes this way, or I could make a paper clip that goes this way. So I'm going to choose this way. And all we're going to actually do trim it up on all the edges. So kind of have a plan for this page as you start to cut it, because it could be cut so many different ways. So keep in mind of that. So I think because we said that we were going to do one lengthwise, we'll cut this one here, and all I'm going to do is actually set this aside, because if I were to build my paper clip, okay, basically my paper clip is going to go like this, right? Once it's decorated. I'll put the link to the paper clip making video there below, but I'm going to set this aside so that I have this for a paper clip later. And then what I'm going to do is also trim this up, because I'm wanting to make a couple of collage strips, and those are ones that kind of look like the Tim Holtz kind, you know. And I like the smaller portion here, so I'm going to do one that's 1, and probably I'm going to cut it into a couple of different shapes here so that I have it. So this one will get cut. This piece here. Yeah, and I think we'll just even cut off. So we can build a couple different shapes of those. So that I'll have them in my stash as I decorate up my journal. So I could do the same thing with this one, but let's just start with this one. And I would say the same thing for this one here, because this one has these spaces in between. It's also another great one to make a long collage. So let me cut a piece from this, and we'll create a longer collage strip. So should we create one? This way. also this way. So this will be one of my strips here. Take just a second and I'm going to trim this other one, and then I'm going to ink the separate ones that I am going to create the collage strips on. So we'll do that and I will be right back. Okay, so I've got them cut out here and inked. We'll make these in this video. I've also got sentiments. I've got some other labels. I have fussy cuts. I've got lots of bits of scrap lace. That's what I'm working with. And I'm also got my art glitter glue, and I've got my Fabri-Tac on hand in case I want to add lace. The first thing I'm going to do is actually pay attention to this one here. And what we're going to do is I think this one makes a really nice belly band because of the length of it. So what I'm going to do is actually, we'll cut this into strips here. This one won't have any book page on it if I use it. So I'm going to actually choose something else here. And I'm just doing this approximate. Setting these other parts aside that don't have the book page on it. They're just blank. And then I'm also going to trim that off of the edges of these. I want to create a paper ruffle, and that's probably the first thing you want to look at, is if you want anything to extend off the edge of the collage strip that you're going to do. So by that I mean, like if you were going to add ruffle, or maybe a tab. So some of these will do a tab. I'll show you that what that looks like. But so the first step is basically, step one is to pay attention to the back and make a design decision about the back. I'm actually making a design decision because this I'm going to use as a belly band, and I know that ahead of time. I'm going to turn this over, and I've cut these strips because I'm going to put and make a ruffle. And the way that you do that, I have a whole video. If you haven't watched it already, probably one of my favorite things to do is to create paper ruffle. These are actually easier to ink before, at least the edges are. We'll ink the top after. Choose an edge to ink. You're not going to see both sides, so they look really cute when it's, so I'm thinking I'm going to need at least 4, maybe 6 of these to create the ruffle. See. I'm also paying attention to the direction of the words so that it looks like the ruffle will look like it's all in one piece. So let's do 3 for each side. It might be too much. see. Okay. So remembering that the front side is here, when we put the ruffle on, we basically won't see that portion of the ruffle. So you're just going to add the glue along the side. And just fold it into a ruffle. Won't spend a ton of time on this piece of this thing right here because the ruffle is optional and not really part of the whole collage process, but I do want to do one of them for you so that if what you'd like to do, this needs a little more glue, is go back and watch one of these if you want to add the ruffle. You could add lace on this side too if you wanted. There's a lot of things you could do with that design option to add something to the back so that you're creating a little, I don't know, I just think it adds to things significantly. And let's see, what did I do? Well, that's weird. Part of my idea for this is to go like this. I think I'm going to do both sides. So I'm just going to pause the camera for a second and I'll put this on the other side. Okay. There we go. And so because this is an element that will have something that probably slides and moves behind where these pieces are, one thing that's going to be really important for me to do so that I don't have something to catch up is to seal off these edges. So all I'm actually going to do is use this book page to hide the folded edges so that whatever I slide behind this moves really freely. So we're not going to see it, but we will notice it catching on something, right? So, and it gives the belly band a little bit of structure too, so. Okay. So this piece can be drying. And if you wanted to wrap it around that way, you could. Your choice. So I'm going to add a couple of tabs to the other ones. Okay, so also acknowledge that some of these will do better on something like this going on later, but this one definitely needed to go on ahead of time. This is just some vellum with the label on it. And I've chosen my orientation of things, and then I probably, for this one, I'm thinking I will probably add this one kind of like that. So I may not glue it, but just leave it so I kind of have an idea what I've chosen already. Step 2 is to cover up any of these spaces that are left that are white that you do not like. So a couple options. You can use words if you want to use that to start to build. It's a great place to put a set of words or numbers here. I should have inked my little sentiment or word here. I am going to do that here, choose this. So mostly what I'm wanting to do is have this on here so that I'm covering up the blank space, but it just kind of sets the tone a little bit also. And see, because of this little space here, I may add just going to add something like that so that it's covered up. Okay, I'm going to make a couple of choices off camera and cover these up, and I'll be right back. So I've added those on just the different edges here, and I'm just going to trim my edges. So I'm still working with the strip. I didn't do the ones that have color in between because I'll save some of the more fancy words and stuff for the top, but I'm mostly wanting to cover up the white space so that I feel confident in my ability to make a choice where it goes, not based on avoiding white space. Okay, so the next step that I have is I like to add something to the base that makes it pop from, so that there's a contrast, okay? And there's a lot of choices with that. You could use book page. You could just move into using your scraps, but I like to work with several at one time so that I'm not focused so entirely on one element. So I'm going to start to place them, and what I'm going to want to do is I'm not going to glue, but I am going to place, and keep in mind that these actually look pretty good when the edges are straight too, so not all of them have to be ripped. And I'm going to place them, but I am not going to actually glue them down, because off camera what I'll have to do is kind of ink it and what I want to do is, like, say for instance this one, I want to repeat this color in a couple different places so that one of these that will work with the repetition, and it can be in a different size amount. So that's the ideal, is probably an odd number of items. We don't know where this will actually end up. Right, but what I am going to do is, since we'll do one of those, we'll put a little bit of the extra that I have on the top so that I can add that maybe to the top of the collage. Okay, this one I've got two pieces here, and we'll just save a little bit for the top of the collage here. And that may not even be, you know what, I don't even like that as much for a contrast, because I want something that's higher contrast for that. So let's see. This one I am going to rip. We'll kind of put that one there. That one there. And then this extra, we'll put it up on the top. Okay, this one I put this on here, and what we want to do here, probably I could use something else maybe at the top there. And I want to leave my extra, whoops, so I know that it's there. I'm going to do this for this one and this one off camera, and I'll be right back. So again, my next step is to, you know, probably choose an odd number. You could choose 5, but I'm going to choose 3. So put 2 of them down on the bottom and we'll put 1 on the top. So that's my formula so far. Okay, so the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to cut up some of my ephemera that I have. You can use the ephemera, or you can use something like, don't forget you have these as freebies that you can use. This has tons of little sentiment things that might match that you might use. Like, one of my favorite things is this piece right here that has the French numbers on it. So essentially, you're going to want to choose some text or some numbers or some words. At least that's my theory on adding to your collage. So we'll probably use this in again, same theory, probably add a number. And I'm just, you know, this is like just kind of a guesstimate, because what's going to happen is I haven't glued them down, and I'm basically just kind of making piles of where I know that things are gonna, they're gonna go, and I'm gonna go from there. Let me use these dominoes. See, this one has more numbers. I like these numbers. There's actually 3 different kinds of numbers on this one. So how about we just say put the extra one up there. And this is just basically the first layer. So we're kind of going along like this in layers, and you'll put the ones that you're, you know, that are not, do not put your very favorites on the bottom, because they're probably, the whole word is probably not going to be showing, right? Because we're going to collage over this. So in fact, that reminds me, I may just put that one because I love that piece so much. So here's another numbers. I think I'm just going to choose to do it like that. Okay, so I have words or numbers on either, on every one. This one needs a little more. So all of these words on this one are fun. This one says toils, lingerie, modes. So you can kind of add that one. I think we'll end up with that on the top. I'm going to add a little bit of book page to each one. I'll be right back. I'm probably going to pick 1 or 2 fussy cuts for each one. We'll see. Just kind of doing this random. There we go. Now we've also, I'm going to add, make sure that I have enough probably lace for each one. So I'm going to lay out the lace approximately where I'm going to want it. I'm going to add any like other small bits that I might want in there. So I'm using the lace. It's probably more lace than I need, but so I'm going to actually cut up some of these. So you get the general idea. You can just begin to layer it up. Okay, and at this point, I definitely have like enough things on each one that what I'm going to do is pause the camera, and I'm going to kind of clean up my space a little bit, and I'm going to ink everything where it goes, and I'm gonna get it ready to glue down. What I do want you to see, these would be fun on here too. What I want you to see is it's pretty hard to mess it up. So hold on.